and I would like to welcome everybody to a regular meeting of the Bethel Board of Selectmen. Today is Tuesday, May 17th, 2022. Please rise, join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. There were two things that we need to make a quick vote to add to the agenda because we used an old template and completely forgot about correspondence and public comments. So I don't think we have anybody here, but I'll make a motion that we add to this agenda item number 1B, correspondence, and 1C, public comments. Is there a second?
Second. Also, we need to, on item 6, it's Stony Hill Fire Department, not Bethel Fire Department.
Oh, yeah, I was going to do that when we got, all right.
Oh,
we'll add that.
well, it's
Yeah, right.
however you want to do it.
Yep. Yeah, that's a.
Then you have it as Stony Hill right there in red.
Number 6, it says recommendation from the Fire Commission for sale, but that came from Stony Hill Fire, not Bethel.
No, it says
Yeah. I put that on manually, put that on the agenda. Okay, those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, that carries. So we are at correspondence. Did we get anything in late breaking? Okay, public comments?
Cynthia McCorkindale, 19 Elgin Avenue. I just want to talk a little bit about the ARPA funds. So there seems to be a committee that I have two prongs here. One is the committee has now 8 members. They're all town employees, heads of departments. I'm going to make a request, and you need not honor it. I will follow up in writing, that you appoint one person, or the Board of Finance appoints one person to sit on that board and one citizen at large. Because there's no representation of the taxpayers. I read the Treasury guidelines. I realized that it's pretty, loose as far as how you need to structure it. But I've looked at other towns post the information. Brad, to his credit, he's very forthcoming with the Excel spreadsheet that has the projects listed. That's great. And I know how much has been approved. And when, it was brought up at the Board of Finance meeting, I will say, I don't understand the need for town council and yourself to chide the chair of that committee for putting that on the agenda, when what we got out of that was knowledge that they had meant to present monthly to the Board of Selectmen, hadn't been doing that, but now they're going to do that again. Now it's very clear to all the people that these meetings, that the suggestions are put forward to the Board of Selectmen every month. And the other part of it is that I just think there needs to be more transparency in general. There are no minutes, there are no agendas. I'm not sure why it's not open to the public. I just want to explore that possibility that it could be open to the public, even if you don't want to appoint the people that I'm suggesting. And I'm not suggesting any specific people. So that's one thing. If I hadn't put it on the agenda, or the chair of the Board of Finance had not put it on the agenda, then it would not have been discussed. And, Dion very generously sent everybody the minutes from different Board of Selectmen meetings where it had been discussed. So people just wouldn't even know where to look. So I talked to Brad also, maybe there could be a dedicated page, like a link to the controller's page and have it something there. I don't know. It just seems like other towns that I've explored have a lot more information that's readily visible on the website. So that is all. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other, I know you're on the agenda. Any other comments? Hearing none. Okay, so item number 2, first Selectmen's report. Let me take an opportunity to address some of your concerns on that. It's probably more accurate to call what we call the ARPA committee. It's actually a working group. It's not the same thing as what the other towns are doing. This committee actually, it's basically there to do the homework for the Board of Selectmen. The ARPA decision makers in our structure under our charter, as explained by the town attorney, is the Board of Selectmen. So what this group of department heads is doing, and it's their department heads because we are tasking them with getting information on bathroom renovations, plumbing, HVAC, renovating locker rooms, renovating the front end, renovating spaces for the senior center. So it's not what other towns have done is they put together a forward-facing committee that interfaces with the public. The committee that interfaces with the public is the three of us. It's the Board of Selectmen. We're also working through the Park and Rec Commission, Police Commission, Fire Commission, and so on. And the only reason there haven't been reports for the last couple of months is that there were things in progress that they were working on, getting details, and those weren't complete yet. So things like the study of there's an engineering group that's working on HVAC improvements for the high school. Same thing with this building. There is a group that this board approved at its last meeting called the Gordian Group that is doing the engineering specs and the contracts for renovating the front end. Now, probably when we get to phase 2 of the ARPA funds and there's more discretion, there's like, do we use money on improving this park, or do we improve some other building? We haven't really discussed it, but it's my intention that we have public hearings on those and gather input from the public. But at this point, this is not the same type of a committee that the other towns are doing. So I just want to be clear on that. That's why they meet when they can. They're going over the nuts and bolts, the logistics of the things that this board is considering. But no, they don't meet with, Brad takes notes. This is sort of like when I meet with department heads and I say, we come up with some pricing, some preliminary pricing on this project, and then we'll start to put it through the system. So it's not the same thing. I will take your suggestions under advisement.
Well, since we're interacting, I just want to say perhaps a blurb in the First Selectman's newsletter to what is the working group working on? And that's just something that is, it's just about transparency, nothing about legality.
Actually, we're working on that. It has been in all the minutes. You'll find it's fully transparent, but
I've seen it, but it's just, I'm saying.
Okay, well,
more people have access to that. People don't go digging around in the website. I know that from talking to people.
Yeah.
They don't.
okay, and as long as you brought it up, I am going to say, for the record, I really wish that this was a concern you would have brought to us before you put it out on social media, because you compared that committee, my working group, to things that are different in
I
other
saw
towns.
working groups. I'll send you links to the working groups in other towns. I have seen it. I'm just saying.
I'm telling you, the rules say that every town can follow whatever their own charter says.
I know, I read every single word of that.
Okay,
But the other part of it, and I'll just say quickly, move on with your lives, that if it's COVID, it's money for COVID to mitigate the problems from COVID. And also I read that, you can do improvements or whatever. There's no representation from the social services.
Yes, there
or
is.
the health department.
Yes, there is.
Okay,
Yes.
so those department heads are on the committee?
Yes.
They're on the committee.
They attend, and I've asked them to bring forward their
Okay.
requests.
I'm just
Lisa
saying,
Plum
as long as
Plum is
people are-
working on 2 different bathroom renovations and some other improvements downstairs right now, and Brad is expecting to get some preliminary numbers from them. I don't have enough staff that I can assign this to one person, so I've divided this up among the department heads and said, you guys need to help do all the legwork and get this information so we can put it through the system. And everything will also go through the building committee the way it normally would.
That's fine, Matt. I'm just trying to, I'm just telling you what's reported to me about who knows about what. That's all. So just take it for what it's worth.
Okay.
No problem.
All right, moving on to the First Selectman's report. I gave you guys a copy of some highlights. Most of this deals with the legislative session that just ended on May 4th. There is, I'll just show you this real quick. There is a 21-page recap of the major bills. There were actually over 1,000 bills that went through, which was amazing for a short session where bills can't be introduced on the floor, but there were over 1,000 that went through committee. This is a list of the major ones that passed and failed. There's some really good things in there. There's some things that will affect us a little bit. HB 5168 extends a full tax deduction to group homes that are operated by charities. These are for permanent residences. It used to be the case that group homes that had residencies for only up to 6 months were tax deductible or exempt from property taxes. But permanent homes, permanent residential homes were not. Now they are tax deductible or tax exempt from local property taxes. So that's going to affect our revenue a little bit. The assessor is doing a study on that, and she'll let us know exactly what the impact is. HB 5262 expands eligibility for absentee voting. There's a very minor tweak in the language that kind of gets under the constitutional prohibition, but what it says is if you feel that even if you are healthy, but somebody in your household is ill, possibly with COVID or whatever, and you don't feel that you would be safe going out, then that is a legal reason to invoke, the absentee ballot, among some other things. HB 5269 makes remote and hybrid meetings permanent under the same rules that the governor announced in 2020. Two provisions on vehicle taxes. One of them didn't really affect us. It established a maximum mill rate on vehicles of 32.46, but we already established 32.00, correct? So even so, because of the adjusted grand list, we will get about $209,000 in revenue from the state to compensate for that cap. The second thing will not take effect until tax year 2023, which is actually going to be in 2024, and that is that the state will stop using the NADA, the National Automobile Dealers Association Guide for Used Vehicles, to establish the taxable value of vehicles, because that has become very volatile in this environment where people can't get cars. So some people are seeing a substantial increase in their car taxes. We'll see it this year because of the change in used car values. So starting in the following year, the state will go to a system where they use the manufacturer's suggested retail price, the MSRP, depreciated over a 20-year period. So the value will never change. It won't change with the market. It won't go up one year and down another. So that, again, that'll take effect in the tax year 2023. One last thing. In last year's session in 2021, there were a number of bills related to recycling and extended producer responsibility. Most of them did not pass, but last year the legislature did modernize the bottle bill. They raised the deposit up to 10 cents. They established funds for more redemption centers around the state, and they put in incentives for distributors who pick up the materials. And one of the things they did was they put a 5-cent fee on the sale of every small alcoholic beverage, like the airline size, they call them NIPS. That was a compromise which the municipalities did not like. Municipalities wanted to have a 10-cent fee on those, just like everything else, which would really provide a very strong incentive to not throw them out the window of the car in the first place. We lost that battle, but the 5-cent fee must be returned, 100% of it, to the municipalities in which the NIPS are sold. So we just got our first check last week. The checks will come twice a year. Our first check was in the amount of $7,647. And there is a provision in the bill that says that this money must be used for community cleanup, recycling, something to benefit. Yeah, well, yeah, that was how the legislators sold it, was Well, just think, you can give the Boy Scouts and the Girl Scouts this money and say, you know, we'll donate $100 to your troop or whatever, if you go out and, you know, for every, or $5 a bag or every. The last time we had an Earth Day cleanup, I estimate that from the bags I saw, there were something like 8,000, 9,000 of those things collected off the sides of the roads. And that was just a pretty small crew of people going around and picking them up too. So it's a huge problem, but last but not least, and this kind of feeds into it, after many, many months of planning and getting appointments in order and just being overwhelmed with other things to do, the new Sustainability Commission will finally have its first meeting this Thursday, the 19th. And the NIP money, the NIP funding will actually provide an opportunity for grant funding for activities that this group could do in the future. So it's kind of exciting stuff. So that's my report for the day. I'll open the floor to my colleagues, Rich and Brian, if you have anything to add, any questions and comments. Rich?
I attended the Relay for Life on Saturday night. It's a little disheartening to see that participation had gone down so much on it from what it used to be. And hopefully next year the town can get behind it a little bit more than it has and make it more of a prosperous thing for the American Cancer Society. You know, I've seen it grow and now I've seen it fall, and it's really, it's a good cause, and I hate to see it happen the way it has happened. So
I think there are, if you go back a number of years, we were sort of like the regional one, and it drew a lot of people in, and now there are Relay for Life events in other towns, and I think that, that you're right, that has decreased attendance to some degree, but thank you for covering that while I was at the conference. Brian, did you have any comments or questions? Okay, moving on to item number 3, approval of the minutes of the meeting of May 4th, 2022. I'll entertain a motion to approve those.
so move.
Any questions or comments, any corrections? Hearing none, those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. That motion carries. And we come to item number 4, and this is presentation of a mountain bike trail proposal to be proposed for Terre Haute. And I would like to introduce Michaela Waller, who is Bethel resident and also a outstanding bike mechanic. You fixed my bike after I broke it. And she is also a senior officer and representative of NEMBA, which is the Northeast Mountain Bike Association. So I am going to share my screen. So just say when you want me to hit the screen and I'll flip through.
Well, thank you for that introduction, Matt. I appreciate it. And thank you, board, for having me present tonight. As Matt said, my name is Michaela Waller, and I am on the board of the Fairfield County chapter of the New England Mountain Bike Association. You can go to the next slide. So what is NEMBA? NEMBA encompasses all 6 New England states. We have over 30 chapters now and 8,000 members. And our focus is trails, advocacy, and community. And within that, FC NEMBA dedicates over 600 hours a year to trail building and maintenance just in Fairfield County for all trail users to enjoy. So it's not just for mountain bikers. So yeah, we really aim for inclusion and just getting outside, enjoying the outdoors, and giving back to the community in whatever way we possibly can.
Hey, excuse me just a second. Hey, Dan, could you minimize the sidebar on the right? Yeah, go over to the left side of that, all the way over.
Oh, sorry, I'm on the wrong one.
Yeah, right there. There we go. Thank you.
So, as being part of the board of Fairfield County NEMBA, we're always looking looking for ways to improve upon the trail systems in the community and look for ways to maybe introduce new trail systems. And we know about the Terre Haute space in Bethel over in Clark Park. And so we would like to propose the addition of 5 miles of machine-built trails over on Turnage Lane up to where it would meet with Long Ridge Road in Danbury. And the hope would be to connect Terrywile Park in the project and also connect the Ives Trail too. So it would connect Bethel, Reading, Ridgefield, and Danbury. So as you can see here, we have a rough draft of a concept map. The green trail would be the easy climbing trail and probably the first trail to get built. That would be 2-directional for going up or down. We would add a blue trail, which would be an intermediate level trail. A black trail, which is the most difficult. And then at the top where you see the orange and the purple, those would be the ones to connect with Terrywile. And those would be more cross-country style trails, which has like a mix of terrain. It's not too difficult. Yeah.
Mhm.
So why add trails in Bethel? There's lots of positive outcomes to adding more space for recreation. Mostly like a social impact would be, it just improves the quality of life in general. It gives people something to go out and do with friends or family members in the town. There's a public health aspect of it. It just overall encourages a healthy and active lifestyle. And hand in hand with that comes public safety. And I keep in mind kids in the community, it would give them another outlet for activity to do. The economic impact that introducing trails like this in the town would be awesome for our local businesses, like the restaurants and the bike shop, for example. And being that Fairfield County would be the first to employ, or Bethel would be the first in Fairfield County to employ machine-built trails, it would bring a big draw of people to our amazing town. So funding sources, you can generate donations to fund trail projects like this. There are a number of trail grants available. Regional NEMBA offers signature trail grants for larger trail projects like this. The Connecticut Department of Environment and Energy Protection also offers trail building grants. And then there's businesses around like REI who offers trail grants, and Athletic Brewing Company, who are based out of Stratford, they've donated over $1 million in trail funded projects just last year alone. So there's lots of ways to generate funding for this project. So development steps, first off would be our planned, then design and funding, as you saw in the concept map. That would require hiring a trail building company who they're engineers, essentially. They would come out, survey the land. All environmental concerns would be taken into account. Then the next step would be to build out the first set of trails, probably like that green trail, like I mentioned. You can do a phase build out, so it's not all at once. And then you want to market the opening of the trail system, and we would promote it via our social media. We would get help from regional NEMBA as well. They would be involved. And then through all of this, we would measure the impact that the trails have on the community and keep track through surveys or just follow-ups with people who are coming out to enjoy it. And then, yeah, here's just an example of the phase build out that I mentioned, so just breaks it down a little bit for you. So
Oh, was that it?
I think that, yeah. It was just a picture and it said, thank you, that was it. So,
Okay.
yes. So any questions that I can answer for you? Yes, Rich.
How about insurance? Who pays for the insurance?
That's a good question. I'd have to double check with my partners with NEMBA, but I'm sure that definitely gets factored into all the
That-
build.
I was looking
Yeah.
at the town wouldn't be liable for
I don't-
riders on the trails.
I don't think so, because I mean, it's like a use at your own risk kind of
Mhm.
idea, kind of like if you were going to a state park too. But I can get you a more definitive answer.
And I think that's something that our town attorney and insurance carriers would like to see also.
Absolutely.
And
I can check with our insurance consultant. on that.
Okay.
I made a note.
this would also have to go to planning and zoning for the review, wouldn't it?
Oh, it would have to go to planning and zoning, inland wetland. And I would ask, it doesn't have to go, but I would send also to Park and Rec Commission and EDC for comments and questions. So we would involve them, so they're, because I believe that once, it would be, say if the town moved ahead with this, and NEMBA and its volunteers and its contractors constructed the trails, Park and Rec would be responsible for some degree of maintenance or oversight, correct?
I believe so, yes.
Or we could probably structure that whatever way we wanted, I would think.
Mhm.
On a typical weekend, do you have any idea? I know it's hard to compare towns and towns, but
Mhm.
some of your other facilities or trails, how many people attend? I'm looking for parking for cars and stuff like
Right.
that.
Yes.
And, you
so-
know, in your diagram there, did you have an area for parking also,
So-
off-site parking?
There is a little cul-de-sac area right at the bottom of the hill. But we definitely could extend parking off to the right of that lot. But typically, if the weather is beautiful, you can get as many as 50 people out for a group ride. But we do split up into groups, smaller groups to make it more manageable.
Do you know where Turnage Drive is?
Yeah.
It's at the trail access that they're proposing is at the very end of that where the cul-de-sac is. So they're,
Is that interstate lumber?
Yeah,
Yes.
interstate.
Interstate
Yes.
lumber.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How does this affect, you know, in the fall, there's hunting that goes on up there. Is this in a separate area where the hunters are allowed to hunt? Which is
I
something
don't,
that,
I think they're only on the reservoir property. I don't
Yeah,
think- I don't
yeah.
think they're on the Terre
they're
Haute
not on
property.
they're not on that side.
they always used to allow the Terre Haute.
Oh,
Terre
Well,
Haute
we'd have to
property.
double check that.
It's just something, you know, to look at it.
we'll have to check that out. Because I didn't think that was part of that area, but
Typically, like generally, like the general piece of advice is if you're riding in the fall or hiking, you just wear bright orange, just so you're highly visible when you're out in the woods.
yeah.
And
So we do that out in Huntington, at Bennett's and Bridgefields, Trout Brook, like all the local parks. So,
what's the width of the machine built trail?
It's roughly 4 feet wide.
And the base is made out of, you know, like do they bring in process or is it?
No, so the trails are just, it's bench cut with a bulldozer, basically. We try and avoid cutting down any trees where possible too, to preserve the natural beauty of the area.
Do you, I know this is very preliminary, but based on other work, does NEMBA have a projected total cost?
Roughly $250,000 total.
Oh, that's less than I would have thought for 5 miles. What's that?
Is that just for phase one or is that for the whole phase? Everything 5 miles?
I think it's only for about 2/3 of the project. But we would want to aim, like our first beginning goal would be to raise about that much so we can pay for the planning and then like the first
Oh,
phase of the build out or second phase
okay.
as well.
So NEMBA volunteers are maintaining the trail network in Huntington currently,
Yes.
correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Mhm. And a lot of the other ones, so like Trout Brook, we're partnered with Aspetuck Land Trust. Bennett's, they actually have done a lot of work in Bennett's Farm, Bennett's Pond, excuse me, recently, and Pine Mountain, Cethlo, Pierpont, and Hemlock Hills. Those 4 all connect in Ridgefield. And they've built new trails, they've done reroutes. So there's a lot of work going on to improve those areas.
And has there been discussion with the other towns, Amber and Reading, about connecting this trail to their trails?
Yes, I am in progress with getting in touch with planning and zoning and Danbury, just to like keep them in the loop of what's going on. So.
Mhm.
I don't have a meeting set yet with them, but I'm working on it.
I wouldn't want you to build the trail and then all of a sudden have it stop and not going.
Right.
Can you forward us the presentation?
Yes.
Because I'm so blind, I can't read. So,
Well, I should have turned on the other
would've been nice and-
2 monitors. Yeah, I'll do that.
Yeah, we get
I'll
copies.
email that to both you guys.
That'd be great.
Okay.
What
Okay.
is your timeline on this?
We don't really have a set timeline, but I mean, it would be great to maybe have approvals in the next year or so is what we're aiming for.
Mhm.
So, yeah, it would be maybe like a year from now to break
And-
ground would be the big goal.
So that would give you time for fundraising?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And if we give you approval for this, can the land, I was like, can we renege on our agreement in case we, I don't know, want to build a golf course crossing your trails or something?
Well, that would be one rugged golf course.
Well,
Yeah.
well, you know, or
Yeah.
mountain getaway or something. I mean, is it, what I'm getting at, are we locking ourselves into a 100-year lease with them
No,
or anything like that? No, that.
no,
If we-
and as
If
a
we
matter of
needed
fact,
to modify the land for something else
right.
or modify their trails to use a piece of the property or something.
I would guess that if planning and zoning, one of the, just so you know, one of the things we have to do is ask planning and zoning for what's called an 824 referral. And that refers to the state statute. And basically, planning and zoning will just say, yeah, you can use the land for this purpose, or no, you can't. But the Board of Selectmen wouldn't even be able to give a final vote on this till after we got that referral.
Okay.
And we would have to have something similar from inland wetland.
Mhm.
Just so you know, Beth Cavagna and Dave McCollum and I, with Michaela and two other members of NEMBA's management, walked the property a week ago last Friday. And it's, I don't know what else you could use the land for. You can't play golf up there.
Yeah,
It's-
well,
it's-
I was just using a hypothetical.
Oh, yeah. But you know where the old ice pond is?
Yeah,
It's up there. And I mean, it doesn't go, the trail wouldn't intersect with that sensitive area, but it goes up even a little bit higher than that, up into the hills.
and what type of legal agreement would this be? A lease to them or?
Oh, we'd have to talk to the town attorney about that. I would imagine it would be a lease or just a memo of understanding on trail maintenance. Because the NEMBA volunteers do a great job of maintaining the trail network in Huntington. As a matter of fact, I was out there at 5 o'clock tonight. So,
Yes.
no, but that's one of those things that we could talk about with the town attorney on how best to structure that.
Okay. Thank you. Great.
Thank you for your time.
Any other questions? If there's no objection, I would like to make a motion that we refer the plan to planning and zoning, inland wetland for their review, as well as EDC and Park and Recreation Commission for their comments.
A second that one.
Okay. Any other discussion? Okay, hearing none, those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. That carries. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'm
Appreciate-
sorry, just planning and zoning, inland wetland, park and rec and EDC for their comments, or do you want an 824 from planning and zoning?
Oh, yeah, for the 824 for planning and zoning.
Okay, what do you want from inland wetland?
Whatever it is, they
Okay,
they have to give a review. They
A
will
review.
they will look for protected species and,
Okay.
you know.
all right, but then just
erosion.
comments from.
Yeah.
I
Right.
just wanted to make sure I got that right.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. You can stay for the entertainment value if you like.
We're gonna go.
I go.
Yeah. Yeah, most people have other things. they like to do.
dinner.
Have a great night.
All right, have a good night.
Thank you. Take care.
Item number 5, this is a little bit cryptic. What this says on the agenda for the audience, we have discussion of Will Duff appointment to the position of constable and Jennifer Lewis appointment to Commission on Aging. So there were 2 things that occurred back in April, and they were mistakes. We appointed Will Duff to the position of constable, thinking that his term had expired and he needed to be reappointed. Then when Lisa Berg gave us, she's got I should have talked about this in my report. She has a new system to track people on boards and commissions. It's an automated system. It's great. She's done a beautiful job with it. But what we discovered is that Will Duff's appointment really wasn't up for being renewed. So he just continues on for another year. So I just want to make a note of that. I don't believe we need to rescind it because he's already at a constable. But we also appointed Jennifer Lewis to the Commission on Aging, thinking that there were 2 vacancies, but there was only 1. And the previous meeting, we had already appointed Patricia Smithwick. So unfortunately, and I want to publicly apologize to Jennifer Lewis on this, I have to make a motion that we rescind her appointment because there's no vacancy. But I want to thank her for volunteering and assure her if she, next time there's an opening, that she will certainly get due consideration. And I appreciate that people step up and put their name up for these things. So I'm going to make a motion that we rescind the appointment for Jennifer Lewis because there's no vacancy to appoint her to. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay.
Who created the initial vacancy?
I don't remember because it was an expired term.
Was it a Republican or a Democrat?
It was an open seat. It could have gone either way.
I'm just saying, do you know whether it was a Republican or Democrat that filled the seat prior, that opened the seat up?
Well, but it was an expired term and there was no minority party rule didn't come into play, so it could have gone either way. And it happened that we had already appointed Pat Smithwick to the previous meeting. When Jennifer's position came up, I thought, and I take responsibility for this, I thought there was a second vacancy. That would have gone to a Republican, but there wasn't. There was only the one. So again, apologies to Jennifer. I know she wanted to serve in that capacity, but we will certainly keep her name. The next vacancy that comes up.
You'll send her a letter or a
Yeah.
call, please.
Yeah. Okay, those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. That
I'll
carries.
just abstain.
I'm sorry.
I'll abstain.
Okay, 2 ayes, 1 abstention. Item number 6, consideration of a recommendation from the Stony Hill Volunteer Fire Department, not Bethel. That was an error. Stony Hill Fire and from the Fire Commission to sell engine 11. Richard, do you want to speak to that?
Yeah, well, this is an engine that is in reserve. It's available for either Stony Hill or Bethel. Fortunately, both departments have fairly new engines, and this one is no longer needed to be in reserve. It costs money to keep it up and keep it on the road, and the Fire Commission has recommended that they remove it from the fleet. The only thing is, when I thought we had talked at the meeting, the Fire Commission meeting, that we thought the truck was worth more than $10,000. I don't see Chief Baker on the list here.
Well, Brad Hearing, are you on?
Yeah, he's on, he's muted.
Okay.
Brad?
Yep, I'm here.
That we have a procedure that's outlined in the charter on how to sell public equipment, but You had also used in the past that there's something like an eBay site for public sector.
Yeah, there's a couple of them out there that we've used in the past that we
Okay.
can use again for this.
All right, and that complies with the charter, right? The auction?
I believe so, yes.
Okay.
It's how usually we've gotten rid of like old plow trucks and stuff like that with it.
Well, the used car market is pretty hot right now. Maybe,
Yeah.
maybe we'll get
Well,
one.
I hope so, because that truck is, other than needing tires, and that was one issue that came up, you know, we didn't want to put brand new tires on the truck and then get rid of it in the near future, but it's still an excellent pumper. Everything is up to date on the vehicle. It's passed its inspections and things, and I personally think the truck is worth more than $10,000, and I'd like to talk to Chief Baker about it before we agree to sell the truck for $10,000 or in that neighborhood.
Well, you know, one thing we could do, if this board wishes to proceed, you could set a minimum price.
Well, that's what we had talked about, you know, because they're not in a rush to sell the truck.
Yeah,
And, you know, anyone who sees this truck or takes it out to test it, will see it as an excellent truck. So I would like to see, we had talked about maybe setting a price of $25,000. And even that is a steal.
a minimum, yeah, okay, good.
So would we be able to maybe go back to the fire commission? Because, you know, just one thought, I used to deal with the fleet in the police department all the time. And we thought we had a good fleet, we replaced them every 3 years. But unfortunately, and I'm not trying to jinx anyone, accidents happen. And I mean, if we have a truck and, you know, the tires are gonna cost, I don't know, are they 5,000, 6,000 to do tires on a
Yeah, 7,500.
so personally, I would just ask, does it make sense to hold on to the truck and put the 7,500 in it? Because what happens if, God forbid, we have 2 trucks going to a call and, you know, there's an accident or something like that, and now the town is short trucks.
Mhm.
And we've sold that asset, you know, that we're looking to get 10 grand to save 7,500 bucks.
Well, it's more than that. That's just for the cost of the tires at the present time, but those trucks have to be inspected, I believe, yearly, and
Right.
the last year's cost to maintain that truck was $12,000, $13,000 almost.
Yeah.
And basically it sits in the firehouse.
Well, I did have something here from Chief Baker. The estimate for refurbishing is a little over 22,000 to keep it on the road. So it's, immediately it needs tires, but to go through all the inspections and keep it in good running order, that would be what they came up with was 22,678.
Is that what the fire commission came up with?
No, that's from Chief Baker.
Do we have the fire commission weigh in on that? Isn't that why
Sure.
we got the fire?
Well, it was discussed about the annual maintenance and the cost of the tires. So,
Well, I mean, I guess, Rich, if you're saying the fire commission saying sell it, I just.
yeah, it was a recommendation.
I just hate to give up
Hey,
a spare pumper that's paid for, you know, just.
Yeah. Marty, did you?
yeah, I just had a question of Rich. When I saw this on the agenda, I went back and looked at the last 2 meetings of the fire commission. I didn't see anything about a Stony Hill fire truck.
The what?
What are you talking about?
What was it, April 25th?
April
Yeah,
25th.
April.
Yeah, I don't remember seeing that. I'll look again, but I don't remember seeing anything on April. That was the last meeting, I think. And I don't recall seeing anything on there about the Stony Hill fire, at least not in the minutes.
What number is it?
I mean, it might have been discussed, but I didn't see it.
A replacement of the tires.
It's up to that.
Actually, it's not on this one.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's not on the agenda.
it's not on there.
Let me see.
Yeah, it must have been a different meeting.
Consideration to purchase replacement tires and R2 at Stony Hill Fire Department.
Right, that was just the tires, but
Yeah, that's,
we had
that's
talked
for,
about bringing it to the Board of Selectmen for,
Fred Ingram made a motion, which was seconded by DJ Brown, to recommend retiring and selling the
oh,
engine 11 to the Board of Selectmen. Discussion ensued. Vote all in favor. Motion approved unanimously.
so, thank you.
That's the April 25th meeting?
Yeah.
Yes,
It's the last item on the minutes.
All right, I'll go back and look again. I'm sorry to interrupt the meeting.
That's all right.
It's on that last paragraph, of consideration of the purchase or replacement of the tires, E11, and then
kind
It
of went
was-
from consideration to replace tires to move it into retirement, and that's what was decided. After they started talking about how much it was gonna cost to keep it.
Okay.
Well, we could authorize putting up for auction with a minimum bid of 25,000. If you think that's
was that the number we talked about, was 25,000?
Can't remember. I know that there were several things on the truck that Chief Baker wanted to take off of it and keep because it was in good condition. And I think that probably if he
equipment,
takes the equipment off
it's gonna
and has place to store it, then that's going to,
lower the
go
value.
into what the selling price of this truck will.
Yeah,
Well, is there a motion on the table?
no,
I'll make a motion that we retire engine 11 from the Stony Hill Fire Department and advertise for, or go out to auction and a minimum bid of $25,000 for E11.
I'll second that. But to clarify, is that
But again,
the,
my
yeah, the-
concern is that Chief Baker has several items on the truck.
Well, it
that
doesn't
he-
matter that you buy the truck, it's empty. There's nothing in the truck when you buy a truck.
oh,
You
okay,
add
so,
you add
Okay.
all the,
Okay,
you add all the stuff to it.
okay. Why don't we maybe amend the motion slightly to say basic vehicle?
Okay.
So that it's clear that it, whatever equipment is on ladders, hoses, whatever, it remains property of Stony Hill Fire. How's that? All right, so.
I make, can I just add one thing?
Sure.
In the past, we haven't gotten a lot of traction on some of the auctions with the fire trucks. I would ask that the fire departments reach out to neighboring departments that run Pierce. I don't, is it a Pierce, Rich?
Probably, because they generally have Pierce up there.
So
Yes,
if,
1983 Pierce.
Yeah, it is.
so if we want 25 grand for the thing, maybe we have the firehouse reach out to anybody else that they know run Pierce's, and see if they're interested in it before we go through an auction process.
Right, that was discussed at the fire commission meeting, and Chief Baker knows some people that he's going to talk to about it.
Yeah, because last time we sold the truck to a neighboring town and we pulled it from the auction and the auction wasn't happy, I think I'd rather approach neighboring towns with the price that we're looking for it before we go through the auction process.
Okay.
You can't,
Because
you
the
can't
auction
do,
can be a crapshoot. Can't
you
do
can't
it.
do that. You have to advertise it someplace.
Alright.
If you want to advertise it, sure, then you can do it. And what happens is if you get an offer from a local town, then what you got to do is you got to waive the bidding process just as if you're buying something.
Alright.
But you
So
got to
maybe then-
advertise.
Maybe we just advertise it in the news
Yeah.
times then.
Yeah, that's all.
All right,
Alright.
remove the auction word, auction.
Yes, yeah, I would remove the
Yeah.
auction.
And then my motion.
Just put it out to advertise.
Okay. I'll
Thank you, Mike.
second. I'll second the amended motion. Or the restated motion. Okay. All right. So are we clear? Everybody good?
Can we just say what the motion is?
I was just gonna listen to the video again.
Yes, the motion is to advertise the engine 11 basic vehicle for a minimum price of 25,000 to be advertised according to the charter for sale to retire engine 11. All right?
Yes.
Okay, any other comments? All right, hearing none, those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, that carries. Okay, item number 7. This is not something we're going to vote on tonight. This is actually 2 proposals. Fund balance policy, which was last adopted by the Board of Selectmen in 2013. And going along with that, Brad and I have together have crafted a proposed ordinance establishing a tax stabilization policy, which we have put language together for. A fund balance policy is something that we've had for a long time. The charter says that it can originate either with the Board of Selectmen or the Board of Finance as a recommendation. Obviously, the Board of Finance this will go to them for their input, but then it comes back to the Board of Selectmen for approval. Same thing with the tax stabilization. Basically, the fund balance policy just updates the numbers. When we first did the fund balance policy back in 2013, 2012 is when we started working on it. There was a kind of a minimum requirement in the industry, not a requirement, but a minimum standard that you kept a minimum of 10% of your fund balance, 10% of value of your operating budget as an undesignated or unrestricted fund balance. And as we've discussed over the last almost 10 years, that number is now 18 to 20% that the bond rating agencies want to see because of the volatility of the state budget and how much that can fluctuate. So they like to see a minimum of 18%, and they really like to see up to 20. So this restates that fund balance policy, but then goes one step further and it dovetails into the what we're proposing as a tax stabilization fund program. This is something that's relatively new. Several towns have adopted similar things. They are highly approved by their bond rating agencies. And what this does, it dovetails with the fund balance policy and allows a structured, limited method by which the town can offset tax increases and stop the mill rate from jumping around when there's volatility. So very much the same as we use the debt service fund in this year's budget to be able to adequately fund town services without a huge impact in taxes. The mill rate change was 0.98%. This also allows the town to use previous year's surpluses to sequester it and to use a very small portion of it for that purpose to stabilize the mill rate, so you don't have breathtaking changes when there's volatility. So not asking my colleagues to vote on this. I wanted to present this to you as a first look. I would ask the town attorney to review the language to see if there's any adjustments. And then we will also present this to the Board of Finance at their next meeting for their review too. And once all comments are probably in a month after the Finance's next meeting, we will probably be in a position to vote on this. So any questions so far on that? Any questions for Brad on that? Okay,
Not at this time.
and Brad, thank you very much for your help on that. Brad?
I just wanted to add, I did talk to our financial advisor today, just to make sure that the 18 to 20 is a good number. And he said, yeah, that's for the town of Bethel, for us to maintain their 18 to 20, a AAA, 18 to 20 is a good number for us. Other towns don't need to be that high to maintain their AAA. Bethel does. And we've known that for a while. We never thought, when we set up this first policy, we never thought we'd get AAA. But now that we have it, we really don't want to lose it. So it's just kind of updating what we've been doing anyway. And it gives us a better mechanism for what to do when we exceed the 20.
Okay, any questions so far? All right. So I will ask the town attorney to just take a quick look at it. It's page and a half of one and 1 page of the other, so I shouldn't take too much time. Moving on to item number 8. Again, we don't have to vote on this if we can or not, and if you want to look at it. This is a draft proposal from the building department for a new fee schedule. The fees have not been adjusted for approximately a decade or more. Oh, actually more than that. I think the only thing that had changed was price per square foot for construction that the department uses, but our chief building official and department head, Chris Baldwin, has researched the fees in the other towns in our region. And this is his proposal for a new fee structure. And I see Chris is with us tonight. So Chris, thanks for joining us. I'll open the floor to my colleagues if they have any questions based on this. And again, we can discuss this tonight, or we can table this for the next cycle, and you can have a closer look at it if you wish.
Was this a handout
Yes. Actually,
just for the board?
you know what?
Zoom document.
I thought I attached this to your email earlier, but I didn't. It was in Chris's email. I'll send it to you, Marty.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question for Chris.
Yeah.
Chris, what's the current cost for additional $1,000? Right now, you're trying to go to 10. What is that right now?
It's $8 per thousand right now, Brian.
My only comment, being a builder and understanding the fee structures. To build a new house, by the time you get through zoning, public works, the building department, you could be $6-7 grand just to get out of the ground. It's a lot of money. And it's getting passed on to the consumers.
So are the houses.
So
Right. If I were to comment, what I'm trying to do to alleviate that issue is the cost per thousand that I'm using is the national average. And I haven't adjusted it for inflation or any of that. So basically there's two components to the fee. There's the fees that we're talking about now, but there's also the cost per square foot. And so my intent is, until things stabilize, not increase those costs. My intent is really just to keep up with the other towns. To give you an example, Danbury, their initial cost per thousand is $22, and then it's $11 per thousand after that. We're just going to 10, so they're actually $1 more than we are. Another town is Ridgefield. Their initial cost is $50 for the first 1,000, and then $10 per thousand after that, which is in line with what I'm proposing. So I'm really just trying to keep our fees consistent with the surrounding towns, but I'm also cognizant of the builders, and I'm not going to increase the square footage costs or increase them until I understand what the actual costs are going to be, because they're all over the place right now. And I understand the builders are going through a difficult time trying to get materials and, you know, dealing with the costs that they're incurring also.
I mean, my personal feeling, and it's not coming, look, when I build a house, that's my decision. But the average homeowner who wants to remodel their house, who needs, mechanical work done, people are getting hit hard with inflation right now. And just because the other towns are, charging $10, I don't think it means that we have to charge $10. Our building department is quite profitable as it is now. We've discussed it in budget meetings. So, I just think, before we vote on this, we should really think about it. I mean, all the indicators are that we could be going into a downturn. People are really hurting. People have an emergency repair. They need to replace a furnace. They need to replace, a large mechanical item. I mean, this is just hitting them harder. And, look, where I'm coming from and probably where my vote's going to go on. So, it is, that's my, I think this is not the time to be raising fees on people when inflation is at an all-time high. The state has cut the gas tax, right? Because they're saying people are hurting. They're trying to give people tax relief. But now we're going to talk about raising fees.
Well, I also recall a good 10 years of requests from the Board of Finance to make sure our fee schedules are not too low.
I was on the Board of Finance for 6 years, and I don't recall ever discussing that or encouraging that myself.
Well,
Paul on the
That's
board of
it.
selectmen always wanted it, and that's fine. I respect Paul, you know what I mean? I remember the speeches, it's fine, you know, I have a great deal of respect for
I
Paul.
apologize. It's not appropriate for us to put you on the spot. But thanks,
He loves it. That's-
thanks for
that's
being
Mr.
here.
Bethel
That's
over
what he's
there.
here for.
That's what he's here for. Listen, we can do what we want. I'm against it, and I'll respect whatever the board of selectmen decide. I'm just letting you know where I stand on it.
And I'll make a motion that we table it for this meeting for further review.
Oh, well, okay, I'll second that, but I would like to add that I would like two things. I would like the comptroller to analyze the revenue from the department. Because I'd like to, I'd like to see where we fall on that, because I do, the theory of user fees is they pay for the service that the town is providing. So I want to know if we are profitable or if we are subsidizing it or somewhere in between. And number two, I would like to know, and Chris, I think you have this data through the Council of Governments. We can analyze the fee structure from the entire region, all 18 towns that are in the Western Region Council of Governments. So let's table this pending that information. We'll put that together and have it on the next agenda, okay?
Okay, yeah, I can get that information, whatever you need, just let me know.
All right,
Thanks, Chris.
all right. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, that carries. Last item is, we have one more seat to appoint, which has to be a Republican seat to satisfy to the Sustainability Commission. That has to be a Republican seat, and Mr. Stephen Ippolito got wind of that. I think you might have told him, might have mentioned it, and he enthusiastically volunteered. So I would like to make a motion that we appoint Stephen Ippolito to Sustainable Bethel.
Second.
Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much, Mr. Ippolito. We really appreciate that. And that motion carries, and I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
That carries. Thank you very much.